yes, Sophie, to get us started.
Hi there, welcome. So just to give you a little bit of background information on BPK, just to give you an idea of what you're looking at here, all of our majors take a third-year anatomy course. A couple of years ago, our anatomy lab was renovated to this small but state-of-the-art lab. So we're very pleased, we're very excited about it. You won't get to use it till a bit later on in your degree, but it's a great facility. So what will you study in BPK? You'll take courses that lead to a strong understanding of human anatomy and physiology, movement, neuroscience, and health. Our professors and our students are involved in fundamental and applied research, education, and service. We provide lots of opportunities for our students to get involved in research throughout their undergraduate degrees if they choose. So you don't have to. And we have a very strong co-op program. And Aidan will tell you a little bit more about the co-op program in a couple of slides. Sorry, I'm just having some technical difficulties here. So yeah, we have 3 different majors. Again, this is the anatomage table, which is also part of the anatomy lab. It's a really, really cool 3D anatomy platform. You can actually do cross sections. And so this is a lot of fun. Students like to play on this. We sometimes have, we bring up some elementary students and they have fun playing around on that as well. So the 3 different majors are, they all lead to a Bachelor of Science, just so you know. And we have a kinesiology major with or without a concentration, a biomedical physiology major, and a behavioral neuroscience major. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about kinesiology. This one here, you'll get an extensive understanding of human structure and function as they relate to health and movement. You will study the whole body. You'll study exercise, nutrition, rehabilitation, occupational ergonomics, health behavior, and promotion. As I've said, you can do the kin major with or without a concentration in active health and rehabilitation. The kin major with the concentration in active health and rehab is recognized by the British Columbia Association of Kinesiologists. Why is this important? This is important for employment purposes once you graduate. A lot of employers want kin grads to be registered with the BCAK. The kin major with our active health and rehab concentration is our most popular degree. So why would students do the kin major without the concentration? The general program offers students the greatest flexibility in tailoring their undergraduate degree, and often students who are trying to choose between kinesiology and biomedical physiology will do the kin general program because it gives them the most flexibility. This major is great. So just the last thing I'm going to say about kinesiology. This major with or without the concentration is great preparation for professional schools, but especially physical therapy and occupational therapy, if that's something that you are interested in. Biomedical physiology. You'll get an extensive understanding of structure function, similar to the kin major, and regulation of the body from the cellular, molecular to the behavioral level. So this degree is more cellular and requires a little extra chemistry, a little extra MBB. This degree is great preparation for professional schools as well. Usually students that are interested in medicine, dentistry, optometry, pharmacy, and the growing biotech industry. Pharmaceuticals, biotech will probably do this degree. Behavioral neuroscience. This major combines psychology and BPK. You will study systems and sensory motor neuroscience, cognitive neuroscience, including attention, learning, memory, neurological disorders, neuroanatomy, biological rhythms, general physiology and psychology, and research design of behavioral studies. It's also great preparation for professional degrees, medicine, PT, OT, and advanced degrees in neuroscience and clinical psychology. I am going to hand it over to Aidan.
Thank you, Sophie. So good afternoon, everyone. Great to see so many of you here. So just to introduce myself, my name is Aidan Wiki. I'm a Faculty of Science Student Success Coordinator. I was also BPK advising last year, and I myself did the kinesiology degree. I'm an alum of the program. So I'm very familiar with the program, and this slide, we just want to show you what the program looks like. So give you a really broad overview of what you're looking at in terms of courses, in terms of what your next 4+ years will look like. So one thing, I'm going to make this a little bit interactive just so that everyone can understand the resources that are available. So I've put into the chat a link, and this is a link that Sophie is going to refer to later as well. And what I'm going to do is actually share my screen and walk you through. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what is a major. Now, most students in this presentation are kinesiology majors or biomedical physiology majors. So
I stopped my share, so you should be able to see yours.
Thank you. And I just need to get my, hold on one second. I'm just looking for my browser. Give me one sec. Add it up. Okay, we'll do it this way. Hopefully everyone can see the link I just sent is to the BPK forms page. Is that showing up, Claire?
Yes,
Perfect.
right now
Okay.
we are seeing the BPK forms page.
Okay, wonderful. So hopefully everyone is at this page. We want to make this a little bit interactive. We'll take the kinesiology major just because that's our most popular major. And to get an idea of the program itself, click on kinesiology, and the third link down is the program planner. Okay, so this essentially shows what your degree looks like in terms of courses. This is a really handy tool that we have. This is a fillable PDF, by the way, so Sophie loves it if you use this, and then fill this out anytime you're talking with her. This is really handy to have with you to kind of understand your courses. Now, this is 2 pages. The first page shows all lower division courses. Lower division refers to 100 and 200 level courses, okay? And the second page shows your upper division courses. So those are all the 300 and 400 level courses, okay? So a degree is made up of 120 units, at least 120 units. Most courses at SFU are 3-unit courses. So you're roughly looking at 40 courses for your degree, okay? When we're looking at page 1 here, we can see the lower division requirements. As you can see, there are some BPK courses, but there are also a variety of other science courses. So your first year in any of the BPK programs will consist of all the core first year science courses, as well as some introductory BPK courses. Okay. On this right-hand column, you can see electives. So electives are courses that you can do that are outside of your field of study. Okay, and electives are actually very open. You can kind of pick and choose. And this is a really great chance for you to take things that are interesting to you, but not necessarily directly related to BPK studies. And you'll see here on the first line, you may have heard the words, if you've done uni prep already, breadth courses. So there are three different types of breadth courses. There's a breadth humanities courses, breadth social sciences courses, and breadth science courses. Now, as a science student, you do not need to worry about doing any more breadth sciences courses. Those are already built into your degree because of the number of science courses you've done. However, you do need to do a couple humanities courses and social sciences courses. And maybe, Nicole, if you don't mind putting into the chat the link to the list of breadth courses so that students can see that. You will also be required to do a couple writing courses. And so when you see W, that refers to a writing course, okay? And then you do have room for additional free electives outside of this. So for the kin degree in particular, you're looking at 24 units of electives. If you ever need help with kind of planning out, your electives or even your degree in general, this is a great reason to meet up with Sophie to make an appointment. Again, it's always useful to have gone through the planner in advance so that you have some very specific questions when it comes to your courses. Okay, I'm going to skip over to page 2 here and just briefly touch on the upper division electives or upper division courses. Of course, you don't need to worry about this right now because you're all entering into first year. But this is to keep in mind for your 3rd and 4th years. You will be able to access these courses in a couple of years after you have done the prerequisites that are required for these courses. Another thing I want to touch on is honors. There is an ability to make your degree an honors degree. And the way you would do that is by taking some additional upper division courses. There's actually 3 different courses. They will equal 15 additional upper division units. And these are all research-based courses. So this is something you can start thinking about, especially as you're progressing in your degree. And if there's things that are interesting to you, or if there's a prof that's doing some very interesting research, this might be an option for you to make your degree an honors degree. And you would then collaborate with a prof and with a research lab and have a thesis proposal, spend some time doing research, and then report on that research. And that's what would make up your honors degree courses. Okay, and the other thing I want to mention is there is an ability to do a minor. Now, this won't apply very much to people in this room because you're all directly admitted into kinesiology or biomedical physiology, so you're doing those majors. At SFU, you can also do a minor, and university in general, you can minor in other subjects outside of your subject area. So we've had really interesting combinations, students who will do a business minor, for example, with a kinesiology major, or maybe there's an arts-related subject that people are interested in. So if that's the case, if you think that you're interested in a minor, definitely reach out to the advisor of the departments that you're interested in and find out what their requirements are. The minor is less courses to complete than a major, and typically it's easier to get into a minor. Okay, and I think I'm going to stop sharing here. And Claire, you can put up the PowerPoint again. Thank you, and we'll skip to the next slide. Yeah, and so another thing that is available, I mentioned the minor, there is also the ability to do a double minor. Now, a double minor just means that you would do 2 minors and you would still get, at the end of your studies, you'd still get a bachelor's degree of science. So this is a very interesting option for students that, again, if they have a minor in another faculty that they're really interested in, you could combine that with the kinesiology minor or the biomedical physiology minor. And I think I'll pass it back to Sophie now. Oh, Sophie, I think you're still on mute.
Thanks, Aidan. And I need to change my view. Exit full screen. Okay. So here we go. I think this is, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. I think Aidan gave you a very good introduction to a lot of the resources that are available and to the program in general. But I think what a lot of you are anxious about is you're probably starting to load your course cart in preparation for registration in early July. And I know that I'm getting a lot of emails and people are booking appointments. There are a lot of new students starting, and I can tell that my appointments are booking up fast. So I'm hoping to give you enough information here today that you feel fairly comfortable getting yourself a nice schedule for term 1. And then things will get a little quieter later on and you'll be able to reach out to me. But so how many courses to take? Don't underestimate the courses. A lot of students think that they need to register in give or take 15 units in their first term. I don't recommend that in your first term. A lot of you are coming in with very good grades in the 80s, some in the 90s. It's a very big jump between high school and university, and you want to start off on good footing. So I normally recommend that students do give or take 12 units in their first term. We are a tri-semester university, so that means that if you don't do a full term in your first and second term, meaning fall and spring, you can pick up a couple of courses in the summer. Not every course is offered all year round, so it is important for you to know which courses run which term. But most of the general science courses, a lot of them do run in summer. Okay, so that's, and now I wanted to go to this resource link here. So this is the breadcrumbs here, BPK website, undergraduate, current students, and forms. I didn't want to go straight to forms because I wanted to show you some of the other things that are available when I go click here. So let's see if that link, does that link work?
Sorry, the link works. I'll make sure we get it posted in the chat, but right now you're not screen sharing. Would you like to screen share to show?
No, could you click on that for me, please, Claire?
If I do, I will just have to stop the PowerPoint screen share. So just give me one moment.
Okay, never mind. You know what? I will go there myself. Well, it sort of defeats the purpose. Do you think you can get there without too much trouble and without Claire? I should have thought about this.
I will. Sorry, all good. I should have it up in just a moment.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
Okay, thank you so much. So you'll see the reason why I didn't want to go straight, and is this, am I going to be able to click and it will?
I'm controlling it, so just tell me where to click.
Controlling it, okay. So if you can scroll down so we can see. So if you go to people, basically there's information there. And so if you're trying to figure out, I'm trying to get a hold of Nicole Yu, who's helping us out today. Nicole's the undergraduate program assistant. She's awesome. When we're back face to face, she'll be the first person that you will see. And so when you go on this website, it'll give you all the relevant information, our phone numbers, email addresses, anything that's relevant. Same thing, our technical staff, our co-op staff. And then if we go out of the staff, you will also be able to see our faculty members. So if you're trying to figure out what faculty member teaches what course, what's their area of research, etc. So you may not be interested in all of this today, but I wanted you to see this resource. Now, the other information, if you go back to the homepage, we have some information about mental health. We have some information about academic integrity. So there's lots and lots of great information. Now, if you go to the undergraduate tab, which is where Aidan went, and if you go to, there's some careers and professional resources there. So that's great as well. It tells you about some of the different careers available and also gives you a link to our career advisor over in career services. Her name is Brenda Badgerow. You'll see that there's some FAQs. So lots and lots of useful information. But if we could go to current students now, please. And then to forms, which is right at the bottom. Now this is where Aidan had taken you before. If we can go on, if we can click on the plus button for kinesiology and the Kin Major Honor Active Health and Rehab course map. This is a fantastic document that we have just made available recently on this website. This is all of the courses that are required for your degree. It's more of a visual map than the program planner that Aidan showed you. What's really nice about this is it tells you what are the prereqs for the individual courses. There's prereqs and co-reqs. A prereq must be done first. A co-req can be done first or concurrently. I'll try and give you an example of that. But what's also really nice about this is if you click on a particular course, it will take you to the calendar description of that course. So this is a really great resource for you to use with a lot of information all in one place. Now, this is available now for the active health and rehab concentration. We will have one available pretty soon for the kin general. We will also have one available for the biomedical physiology major. Sorry, those are not ready yet. They take a lot of work because they're so detailed. And we do have one available for behavioral neuroscience. If we can go back to forms again, the other thing that you'll see here is if you click to suggested first year enrollment kinesiology. Now, this is the document that I wanted to show you. First page has a lot of really useful links. But the second page, now I have to admit, this is very text dense, but it has a lot of really useful information. So remember I said to you, students can do anywhere between 3 units to 15, give or take 15 units in their first term. I don't recommend doing 15 in your first term. I normally recommend give or take 12. So this is for somebody who's in kinesiology, but it gives you a sample pathway, term 1, term 2, term 3, and down below it gives you additional for your second year. These are just suggestions. And I'm going to, after Claire stops, when we go back to the presentation, I have another slide that goes into more detail about this. But this is available, that document is available for the kin major, the BNU major, and biomedical physiology. So if you're trying to choose your courses, please go and look at the relevant form for your document. Next slide. So here is term 1. So one student is choosing to do BPK 142, Chem 120, Physics 100, and Psych 100. So why is this student doing Physics 100? This student is doing Physics 100 because they're missing Physics 12. Now you may have Physics 12, you may be missing Chem 12. So if you're missing Chem 12, you do Chem 111. All this is on that document that we were just chatting about. But so this particular student chose to do 142, Chem 120, Physics 100, Psych 100. That Psych 100 is a B social science. And so it's an elective. Or if you're interested in behavioral neuroscience, you haven't quite decided between majors yet, it's core for BNU major. So that's 12 units. Or a student has decided to do biology 101, Chem 120. So you may be confused. You'll see some documents say Chem 121. Chem 121 is 4 units. It was split during COVID into 2 courses, Chem 120 and Chem 125. Chem 125 is the lab that goes with Chem 120. So this student decided to do biology 101, 4 units, Chem 120, Chem 125, math 154. This student decided to do math in their first term. They took pre-calc 12 in high school, and they did all right. Excuse me, but it's not their strongest subject. So they've decided they want to do calculus in their first term while their pre-calc 12 is still fresh in their mind. Now, if you're not sure about jumping straight into math 154, if you don't have pre-calc 12, or you did okay, but you didn't do great, you can do what's called the Calculus Readiness Practice Test. And there's a link there, and it's available on the math website. And that's for you. Nobody else needs to know. You're doing it yourself just to see if you're well prepared. So if that student stays in those courses, that's 4 and 4 is 8, and 3 is 11 units. Let's say that student needs to be in 12 units. So a student may need to be in 12 units because they're on a scholarship that requires 12 units, or they could be a varsity athlete, and the varsity athletes require 12 units. So that the 11 units won't be good enough for you. You need to be in 12. So a student might decide they're going to leave Chem 125 till the next term, and they're going to replace it with something like, I put English 1XX because it could be English 111 or 112, 113, 114, 115. Those courses are Breath Humanities, and they're also a W. So these are just examples. I'm trying to give you some examples of how you can set up your first term. If you're feeling a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? If you're pretty confident in your abilities and you really want to try, if you want to try and be in 13 units or you want to try and be in 15 units, be aware of the drop deadlines. And you have up until a certain term to drop. Very early in the term, no notation on your transcript, 100% refund. If it's a bit later in the term, there's going to be a notation on your transcript. It's going to be a WD on your transcript, and you'll only get a partial refund. If it's later in the term, you can only drop under extenuating circumstances. It's an appeal process. You need to have supporting documentation. Next slide. Is this me too, or is this Aiden?
Still you, Sophie.
It's still me? Okay. So Continuance GPA, we are a competitive entry program. You guys made it in, you made it in on your high school marks. There is a Continuance GPA. You will not be looked at in your first couple of terms, depending on how many units you're taking. We want to give you a chance to get adjusted to the university setting. But once you've taken a minimum of 24 units at SFU, so it's in effect between 24 units and 90 units. 90 units is the end of year 3. You have to maintain a science GPA of 2.5. So that means if you took a business course and got an A, it doesn't count. If you did a business course and got a D, it doesn't count. So in other words, taking courses outside of departments that are not in the Faculty of Science, it can't help your GPA, your science GPA, and it can't hurt your science GPA. So there's more information. We do have, there's more information about this on our website, in our FAQs, in the calendar. It's in several places. We also have GPA calculators to help you with, limit on repeats. Typically, the university only allows students to repeat a total of 5 courses. So if you take, you can only take a particular course twice. So if you do Math 154 and you get a D, D is a passing course in an elective course, as long as it's not a WQB, but it's not good enough for a prerequisite course or a core course. In most cases, you need a C- or better. So if you did Math 154, you got an F, you repeated Math 154, you got a D, you'd have to put an appeal in to be given permission to take that course for a 3rd time, and it would count as 2 repeats. So hopefully that's clear about, you're only allowed a total of 5 repeats. There's information in the calendar about that information, about that as well. I think it's over to Aiden.
Okay, thanks, Sophie. So as Sophie said, it is a big transition to come to SFU, to come into a new program like BPK. But we also want to remind you that you're not alone at all. So we are part of the team that's here to support you. But additionally, there are other supports, and SFU does indeed have a really strong community. Not everyone knows that, but sometimes it's just a matter of knowing what's available and what's out there and getting connected. So one of the really great programs that we have in BPK is the peer mentorship program. And Claire, you can just click the next slide here. So this program is open to all incoming and first year BPK students. So any of you are eligible to join, and you would be paired up with a senior BPK student. So someone who's kind of been through the courses, has had some success, and knows, a little bit of the ins and outs of courses and opportunities. So it's a really great way to get connected, not only for course questions, but also just socializing and understanding kind of what are the other opportunities to get involved. I'm actually going to put a link in the chat here. So if you're able to click on the link that I just put into the chat, that's going to take you to the Faculty of Science Student Life page. I've put this link in because it's kind of the catch-all for all student life activities. There's every one of the departments in science, which is, there are 8 departments in science, BPK is one of them. They all have their own student unions. So you are already a part of that student union as an incoming BPK student. As well, there are others clubs that are available. And there's also a science peer mentorship program, which you can join. You do not have to just join BPK peer mentorship program. You're also eligible to join up in the science peer mentorship program if you'd like to be paired up with a senior science student and perhaps get to meet someone in a different department or different kind of area of study. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to connect. Additionally, we do welcome for those who are able to be on campus in the fall to come visit us. Sophie, of course, will have office hours. Claire and myself and our colleague Thomas will have a presence on campus. In the AQ, there's going to be a new science student center called SciSpace, which will be available for all of you. And just check out the communications. We'll probably have more information on that, but I do want to let you know that there are opportunities to connect with us there as well. And I think we can take the next slide. I think this is to Claire.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Aidan. So I just wanted to say a few words briefly about co-op and thinking ahead to your careers. I always encourage students in every discipline. If you have a career in mind right now, that is fantastic. Definitely work towards that goal, but really be open to what other opportunities might present themselves as well. And one of the best ways to try out different kinds of careers and see what is out there is through cooperative education, or co-op for short. Co-op placements are all paid. There are no unpaid internships, and students can do them for either 4 months, 8 months, or in some rare circumstances, 1 year long co-op terms. Co-op can be working with local employers here in the Lower Mainland, but they can also be in other parts of Canada or even internationally as well. As incoming first year students, keep co-op on your radar. You can actually start getting involved in the co-op process in your first year, so that come your second year, you're able to start working. Keep your eyes peeled on the BPK newsletter that you'll be receiving. It's a fantastic resource, and there's always a lot of co-op information in there. But I just really want to encourage everybody to really think about doing co-op, because it is such a fantastic opportunity.
Okay, and back to me. So I wanted just to say a few words about, we call this slide Beyond BPK, but it's thinking about, what's next after your BPK studies. And some of you might have thought about this and others maybe not, but the BPK program is fairly broad. As Sophie mentioned, there's 3 different majors within it. And there's a lot of different options within each of the individual majors. And Sophie already mentioned some of them, and she referred to the website, which has some career ideas. Just for fun, I'm curious if anyone out there has some ideas of what they're thinking about doing after BPK. If you don't mind putting it in the chat, we'd love to just to kind of get a feel for the room. Of course, there's always med school is very popular, and physio, occupational therapy. So a lot of, okay, great. So a lot of things in the health related field, which is very common, and it's definitely one of the strong points of the degree. It gives you that really strong basis for having the requirements to apply to those schools and also to succeed in those professional schools. We also want to encourage you to think about other plans, other options than med school. This is a really great reason for doing co-op. Myself, I actually did 5 different co-ops when I was a student and when I was a kinesiology student. And it actually really helped me to narrow down my field, what I was interested in. I was originally very interested in physiotherapy, and after doing some ergonomics co-ops, I really gravitated more to ergonomics. And my first job outside of SFU was actually through my last co-op employer, which was an ergonomics and human factors related field. And ergonomics, for those who don't know, is essentially the design of things to fit the human body or to fit the user. So that could be workplaces, workstations. I actually ended up working in IT and helping with the design of cell phones. So not just how you hold a cell phone, but even the menu system. So just to point that out as an example, that there are so many things that you can get into with the degree that you're going to get through the BPK program. One other thing I recommend, just with understanding professional schools for the future, is that you will need to apply to those schools. So much like you applied to get into SFU with your grades, you'll need to apply in the future. Most schools operate by something called broad-based admission, which essentially means they're looking not just at your grades and your courses, but also at your experience. So it's really important to think about that, as a student, that your focus obviously will, you want to do well in your courses, but you also want to think about getting things like volunteer experience or even work experience, hence the value, one of the values of co-op. And also having good connections and references. So if you do end up, doing research in a lab or working or volunteering, there's the added benefit that you'll have great access to a potential reference from whoever the prof is or the principal investigator of the study that you're working on with. And lastly, just to mention that you do have grades. So this is a really good kind of wrap-up screen in terms of resources, right? So as Sophie mentioned, we're here to support you. We're part of the team, and I just want to reiterate, kind of the different resources that you have in the different areas that they can help with. So Sophie, being the BPK advisor, she'll help you on all things related to your course and degree planning, and her contact information is on the website. Claire, who's just spoke to us, is the science recruiter. So any incoming students, and there's Claire. And there is also student services advising, less important for this particular group because you're in the program, but for those who are undeclared, meaning that you're not in a major yet, you still have access to advising, and that would be through student services advising, okay? They're also very helpful for students who are in situations of academic difficulty and helping with kind of more complex cases. Myself, as again, I am available to talk to any student. My email address is here as well. I can talk to you about BPK and especially being an alumnus of the program, but also if you're interested in other science programs, maybe you want to do a minor in another science program, I can have that discussion with you and also connect you to the right person to take you to the next step. So I think that's it for our program slides. We do want to open it up to questions.
Yeah, and there's been a few that have come in, so let's start those. Some we've been answering in the chat, so I'm just going to start with the first one that was not answered into the chat, at least as far back as I scrolled, so apologies if I did miss this answer. But this question comes from Layla, who asks, how should international baccalaureate students choose courses considering credits we might get from our IB diploma? And perhaps I can answer one part of that, and then Sophie, you might want to jump in. So for anyone who has any kind of incoming credit, so if you did international baccalaureate courses through your high school or AP, advanced placement, some of you might have some post-secondary courses. Some high schools do offer students to be able to take a course at a local college or university. If you have any kind of post-secondary credit and you're unsure of how it works, on your student center, which is at go.sfu.ca, you can have a transfer credit report. It will show you all of the transfer credits that are on your records. There are a fair few required first-year courses for both biomedical physiology and kinesiology. That can be covered by incoming IB and other credits, and perhaps that's where I'll turn it over to Sophie to answer from an advisor's perspective.
So for some of you, I'll use biology, but if you did IB, a lot of you might have biology 101 and biology 102 showing as transfer credits. Claire is correct. You can actually run a report of all of your transfer credits, but another document that's an amazing document is your advising transcript. Now there's a lot of transcripts. There's an unofficial transcript, there's a co-op transcript. The one that is the best transcript, especially for staff on campus, but I think even for students to look at themselves, is called the advising transcript. And everything about you is on that document. And your transfer credits are listed at the top of that document as well. Not right at the top, there's a couple of things, and then you're advising. So you should be able to see there that you've received transfer credits for biology 101 and 102. This is debatable. There are a lot of debates amongst different advisors on campus, whether you should take that transfer credit and just go into the next level. So because I always use kinesiology as an example, I'm going to use biomedical physiology as an example. Biomedical physiology majors need to do Bioscience 202, genetics. The prerequisites for genetics are Bioscience 101 and 102. So if you've received transfer credits for those, you can choose to go straight into biology 202. You do not need to repeat biology 101 and 102, especially if you think that if you're very, very strong in biology. Some advisors, and some students who may be not that strong in biology, you may decide you want to repeat the course at SFU. That is your choice. But if you repeat those courses at SFU, it'll look on your record as if you've taken a course repeat. This is the only one instance where you can contact Student Services, undergraduate records, and you can ask them to withdraw your IB or your AP transfer credit, and then it won't count as a repeat. So I hope that's answered your question. You know, the only part you may say, oh, how do I decide whether I keep the IB or the AP? I don't know if Aidan or Claire have any more to add about that. It is an individual decision. You need to be honest with yourself, but I will ask if Claire, I know that Claire has a lot of experience advising science students across the board, right? So,
yeah, I would say for students who have IB or AP credits, most frequently, the one that I see students elect to remove the credit and take the first year course is almost always calculus. Unsurprisingly, and this is the case for me, math is not everyone's strong suit. So for many students who might have that math transfer credit, if it's an area, and I'm just using math as an example, but whatever the case might be for all of you, if it's an area that you don't feel comes as naturally to you, that's where I might recommend, have the credit removed, take it in post-secondary. However, if it's transfer credits for subjects you feel exceptionally confident in and learn very well, then I think you're okay to keep the credits there. So we could really talk about this one for hours, so we might need to move on to the next question. What I'll do is I'll just back up to the previous slide so you have all of our contact information. If you want to discuss your IB credits in specific, feel free to send me an email, Layla, or anyone else with IB credits too. And I'd be happy to.
Sorry for interrupting. I want to add a little bit more about IB and math. You need to do 1 year of math at SFU. You need to do Math 154 and Math 155 or equivalents. If you have received transfer credits for Math 154 and Math 155 or their equivalents, that's the only math you ever have to do at SFU. So if you worked really, really hard for that transfer credit, you may decide in that particular case to keep it because there isn't a next level up in math.
For these programs.
Yeah, for these programs, for most of the life sciences. But Claire's correct. If it's a subject where if you got first year biology and you're not that strong in it, and you will need to do second year biology courses, or you may even want to do some third year biology courses, then maybe in that case, it's better to repeat a course, get yourself really strong in that area. So it's a bit of it's not the same answer for every course. And do reach out to us if you have specifics about, you know, whatever. So, but to go back to what we were saying, it doesn't mean you have to remove all your IB credit or all your AP credit. You can pick and choose, I guess is what I'm trying to, is what I'm trying to say.
Great.
That's it from me.
This next question that came in, or was more of a comment, that the BPK peer mentorship link shows that it's at maxed out capacity. I think that was actually just for the current term, the summer term. It will reset again for the fall. It's definitely not full yet. Just keep an eye on the website for them to update it. This next question that came in, I believe we can answer with a link, and perhaps Aiden can, or Nicole can pop the link into the chat. The question was, what are the recommended courses for first term for biomedical physiology? There is an exact page with that info, so I will ask one of them to pop it into the chat. Another question that came in privately, but it was also about IB credits, so I believe we have addressed it. Keep scrolling. Now everybody's popping in their careers. Okay. Another question that came in, are we going to get a copy of this recorded video if we want to go through it again? Yes, I believe the recording is going to be made available on the BPK website. Nicole's been recording very kindly. Thank you, Nicole. So it'll be made available for you after the fact. Oh, and I see Nicole also already answered Ronek's question about the biomedical physiology courses. Another question that came in is from Grace, who asked, could I transfer campuses right now? So perhaps I'll give just a little context first. So all of our Faculty of Science programs are based out of the Burnaby campus, and that includes BPK. However, students can take most of their first year courses and a handful of some second year courses at the Surrey campus if they so choose. At this point, if you have Burnaby or the default no campus, it just defaults to Burnaby listed and you'd like to change it to Surrey, get in touch with me. I'll see what I can do. If you have Surrey listed and you just want to take courses in Burnaby, you can actually just go ahead and do that. It's no problem. It doesn't matter if your courses say Surrey. Okay, this next question, perhaps I will direct towards Sophie. Brianna asks, I've been admitted to biomedical physiology, but I'm highly considering switching into behavioral neuroscience within or after my first year. How would that work?
So because behavioral neuroscience is half BPK and half psychology, and because right now there's no direct entry from high school into our BNU major. So what you'll have to do, it's called the internal transfer process. And perhaps Nicole can enter a link. There's a lot of information on our BPK website about the internal transfer process. So you will do a lot of the same first year science courses, but you will also do some first year psych courses. So Psych 100, Psych 102, Psych 201. And then based on your grades in those required science courses and required psych courses, if you have a minimum of 3, depending on how many courses you've taken, or a minimum of 2.7, if you've taken more courses, you apply by the listed deadline on the application form, the approval form, and you will be approved. So it's called the internal transfer process. The details are on the website, and there's also a Gpa calculator specifically for that major if you're trying to figure out, well, I've done really well in biology and psych, but I didn't do that as well in, math and physics. Do I hit the minimum GPA? You can actually go in and plug your courses into the GPA calculator and figure it out. Hopefully I answered your question and didn't give you too much information, but there's, we try and preempt these questions and provide you with resources. But again, if you've gone and had a look and you've got questions, please reach out.
Great, thank you, Sophie. This next question that came in, I did IB Calculus 12 SL, but when I went to add Math 150 to my course card, it said I couldn't because I didn't have a prerequisite. My schedule is not a perfect system. It can be a little fussy. Sometimes it'll say you don't have a prerequisite when you do. If you're having any trouble with that, feel free to reach out to myself. I can either help from my end or get you in touch with the folks in student services. typically what the issue is if the admissions office hasn't told student services that you have credit for a certain course, sometimes it will block you if it doesn't think you have the prerequisites. So if you're having any trouble with that, just send me an email. I'm the science_recruiter email up on the screen, and we can get that sorted for you. A question that's come in here, are there specific courses that you would take if you're thinking of transferring to a program offered at another post-secondary institution? I'll say as far as regarding transferring to other post-secondary institutions, but also professional programs like med school, veterinary school, dentistry, or graduate programs, while we work with our colleagues at other schools a lot, so we know a little bit about how their processes work, the experts will always be whichever program you want to transfer into. So if, for example, you ultimately have your eye on UBC medicine as an example, we all know a bit about that and can give some, good general advice and point you towards resources, but their advisors would always be the best folks. So in this person's case, I would say if there's a program you have your eye on at another school, reach out to them just to get a sense of what they're looking for, because they'll always know it better than us. Perhaps I'll direct this next question to Aiden. It's been a bit of a recurring theme. I see you've answered it in the chat, but just in case anyone's not looking at the chat, I think it's worth answering verbally as well. Does Chemistry 120 need to be taken alongside Chemistry 125?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a good one, and it's a common one. So we'll try and answer it and clear up the confusion. I did put a link in the chat, but Chemistry 120, as Sophie mentioned before, basically Chem 121 has been split into two courses, the lab component and the lecture component. That's why there's two separate, but together they are the equivalent of Chem 121. So that's for the confusion about why you've seen Chem 121 before. Now, Chem 120 is what's called a co-requisite of Chem 125. So you can either do them at the same time, or you could do Chem 120 before 125. So that's up to you, but that's what co-requisite means. If you ever see the word prerequisite, as we mentioned before, that means that course must be done before, okay, before you can get into the course that you want. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thank you, Aiden. This next one, oh, yes, Sophie.
I just wanted to add, we are pretty strict in BPK. It is important to plan ahead of time so that you can do your prerequisites as prerequisites. Sometimes students will go for whatever reason. I didn't realize this was a prerequisite for a certain course or for whatever reason. And they go, will you give me permission to do the two courses together? So let's say they'll say, can I do BPK 205 and 305 together? You will be told no. The professor expects you to have taken BPK 205 and to have that knowledge. And they're going to just build on that knowledge. You would be doing yourself a disservice. You would be at a huge disadvantage, especially in our really difficult courses, to be in there without the prerequisite knowledge. So it is important. I say this because sometimes certain courses, certain departments, they may be a little bit more flexible, But we try to be, if we think you can do it as a co-req, we will list it as a co-req. When it's a prereq, we're pretty tough. We're pretty strict. You need to do it as a prereq.
Great, thank you, Sophie. We do only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to perhaps ask my fellow speakers. We've got to keep our answers tight on these ones so we can get through quite a bit. I'll direct this one to Sophie. Which BPK courses are only offered once a year, and perhaps keep that focus to first-year courses?
All of our core courses run twice a year. That's a succinct answer on that, except, and it's not core, but if you're interested in the Occupational Ergonomics Certificate, BPK 180W only runs once a year, but it's very specific to that certificate. So for all of our majors, the core courses run twice a year.
Great, thank you, Sophie. Sheena asks, so IB credits can be dismissed? Yes, they can. Just get in touch with me. Utor asks, how do we figure out which courses are offered in the summer term? So we finalize schedules usually a few months in advance. So summer term schedules are typically going to be finalized around like February-ish, because students enroll in their courses in March. So that's when you'll be able to know for sure what's going to be offered in the coming summer. But a really great resource, which perhaps I'll ask Aiden to pop in the chat, is the Outlines webpage. You can see when the last time a course was offered. And while it's not a perfect system, if a course is offered every summer previously, it's not a bad guess that it'll be offered in the upcoming summer. This next question I will direct towards Sophie. What's the difference between the kinesiology general program lower division requirements and the active health and rehabilitation lower division requirements? Which one should I take?
There isn't a lot of difference in the first year. One of the courses that is required for both Kin General and also the active health and rehab is 143. But a lot of the first year Kin courses are required for active health and rehab. If you're doing Kin General, you only require, outside of 142 and 143, you only require one additional first or second year, well, I shouldn't say second year because that's confusing, one additional first year course. So they're very, very similar in first year, very similar. So if you started off, if you look at your advising transcript, all of you will be in Kin General. If you want to do the concentration, you need to reach out to me and I will add it to your records.
Thank you, Sophie. Dorsa asks, I'm interested in international exchange programs. I know it's not offered for first students, but how does that work? So international exchanges, pending the world reopening, are typically available for students from second year onwards. We ask you not to finish on an international exchange, so anywhere between your second year to your second from last term. While you're away at almost all of our partner schools, you're paying SFU tuition, not the international fees of the school you're going to. And the courses will also transfer back to SFU. When the time comes, it is still important to work with the exchange advisors as well as an advisor like Sophie to make sure the courses that you're taking will make sense for your degree, for your major, or potentially your minor if you are interested in one there, but can't recommend it enough. I'm excited for those to return. Another question, how does co-op work? When can you join co-op? You can start working in your second year, but you can actually apply to join the program in your first year because it does take a few months to formally join the program. I think we have time for one more question here. Oh, this one's a real quick one. When can we register in our courses? So you were sent in mid-June to your SFU email an enrollment date. That's the earliest date and time you can select your courses. You can select them afterwards, but just keep in mind that the later you do it, the more students also are able to enroll. So if you can enroll as close as possible to that date, please do. I can see we definitely did miss a few questions. I'm really sorry about that. If there are any questions of yours we didn't get answered, feel free to reach out to us directly through our contact information that is up on the screen. We will absolutely be able to help there. Aiden, Sophie, any closing words from you?
Just what you said, Claire. I know there are a lot of other questions that didn't get answered, but do check out the resources that we mentioned. Many of those questions actually are answered on our website. Nicole put in a link to the FAQs. So we've got a pretty extensive FAQs section there. That would be really helpful. And then you'll have hopefully some answers before you need to make an appointment. But of course, if you do need to, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us and we can help you.
Sophie, any closing words of wisdom from you?
No, I'm aware that we're short of time. I just want to say welcome, and I want to say do reach out if you need to. Do use the resources, as Aiden said, especially, use the resources if they don't make sense or you've got additional questions, reach out. Do use the resources though, especially for very general questions. As I've said, we really want to help you, but there's a lot of you and some of you may have questions that are a bit more complicated and you really need us. Whereas some of you are asking general questions that you can find yourself, and we are happy to help you, but it just blocks up the whole system. So, do reach out and, but use all the resources and Nicole is great, although I don't want Nicole to be bombarded with too many emails as well, but so Nicole's an added resource.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all again so much for coming. I hope everybody is staying safe out there from both COVID and extreme heat. And we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Good to see everyone.